Hello, good evening, all of you. I hope all of you are doing good. Hello, good evening, all of you. I hope all of you are doing good. Hello, good evening, all of you. I hope all of you are doing good. Hello, good evening, all of you. So, we are at the campus today. Your class is going to be online for this week. We are at the campus today. Your class is going to be online for this week. And if anybody of you can just let me know if I'm audible enough, or is there any problem? Let me know if I'm audible enough. Yes, guys, do let me know if it is fine now. Okay, thank you so much. So we have our special reading practice class bit at a different time today, but I am happy to see all of you present. And let's begin with the practice. Share the test. So it was just because of new setup, new arrangement. So we have to figure out a few things. Okay, I'll try to be louder. Okay. Is the screen sharing fine or any problem in that as well? Okay. We're trying to sort that out, Bhavin. Start doing the question so that your time is not wasted. I'll look into that. Okay. This is your first question on the screen. Solve it, put your answers in the chat box, and I'll try to figure out if there is still problem with some of you, because rest of them are saying it's fine. I'll still cross check. So go with your first question. Okay, got so many answers, and just one of them is a bit confusing with some of you. Rest, it's fine. Let's start the discussion and see what you have done So this says polygraphs dash the perspiration, pulse rate, and other physiological factors of the person who is being tested. So polygraphs, they do all these things. What is it? They measure, they calculate, they defines or consider. First of all, looking at grammar, polygraphs is plural, so we don't need a verb with S. So defines will be eliminated. Polygraphs consider these things, they calculate these things, or they measure these things. So perspiration is not something that can be calculated, or physiological factors of the person. Then this is any factor can be physiological factors related to the body. So they cannot be calculated, but yes, we can measure. Like we generally say, we measure the heartbeat or we measure the pulse rate. So it's not calculation that we use there, we use measurement. So measure would be the first answer. Polygraphs measure the perspiration, pulse rate, and other physiological factors of the person who is being tested. So when you read this sentence, you should be clear that they are describing how a thing is done. So it won't be depending on past, present, or future, because they'll say in this way things are done. They will be done in the same way in the past and in the future, like the way they are being done in the present. So those things which are explanations, which are facts, they're always written in present tenses. Next, they say in this way, polygraph tests are dash at measuring what they are supposed to be detecting, which is nervous excitement. So polygraph tests are dash at. Something that goes with at should be our answer here. What we have is polygraph tests are precision at. Precision will be a noun, cannot come with at in this way. Are represented at. With representation, we generally say represented as, not represented at. Are accurate at doing what they are supposed to do, or are correct at. So correct or incorrect is not the thing. They cannot do incorrect what they have to do. But accurate means they are very precise. They do the job in a very good way. So they are accurate. They do exactly to the point what they are supposed to do. So in that sense, it will be they are accurate. Means they are right in doing what they are doing. When a person dash a polygraph test, the administrator of the test begins by asking two types of control questions. So when a person dash a polygraph test, now as we explained, as we discussed in the first part, it is a process. It's a general explanation. So it will be in present tense. So based on that, it will be when a person is undergoing. It's not about the person has done it or the person will be doing it. It's like this happens in this way, that when a person is undergoing the test, the administrator of the test begins by asking two types of control questions. First is questions which the person is expected to answer truthfully, and questions which the person is expected to answer with a lie. So two types of questions are there. Often the administrator will ask the subject to write down a number and then ask, did you write one, did you write two, and so on, to solicit the desired responses. So this is they are explaining how the process goes on. This way, when the administrator of the test asks more relevant questions later on, the subject's physiological reactions can be compared with the dash to the control questions. This is where some of you messed it up saying explanation. Whereas the previous 2-3 sentences in which there was only explanation, they were explaining how the process goes on. The answer was based on that. So they explained you before asking you a blank. They said first they ask you simple questions. They tell you, okay, write a number. And then they say, did you write one? Did you write two? So they were just noting your reactions. And then they ask you sensible questions. And then they match both the reactions to tell that whether you are saying lie or whether you are saying the truth. So here it was that in this way, when the administrator asks relevant questions, then those reactions of easy questions are compared with the reactions of control questions. So basically it was to find out if your reactions are same, that means you're saying truth. If your reactions vary, the way you said truth there and now you are saying truth here, so that will mean that you are lying. So it was comparison of reactions. So reactions can be compared with the reactions to the control questions in order to dash whether or not the subject is telling the truth. So this is they have to find out. So in order to find out will be something like that will be answer. And if you say if in order to inquire, settle, determine, or direct. And out of these words, what is the option that means find out? It is determine. So in order to find out, in order to determine whether the person is lying or not. So just the fourth one, some of you selected explanation just because you went on to more emphasize on questions. So you thought like questions will be explanation, but actually it was based on context. They were comparing the reactions of one type of questions with the reactions of the other type of question. Right, so we'll go through it once again. Polygraphs measure these things because the things mentioned, they cannot be calculated, all of them. Second, polygraph tests are accurate at doing what they are supposed to be detecting. Means they are perfectly good at doing something. And then because it's a fact going on, it's a kind of explanation of how a process is done. So they say when a person is doing the test, then this and this happens. So they explained it. And then based on the explanation, they asked a question that the reactions are compared on easy questions and more sensible questions. Why are they comparing that? To find out what is truth and what is a lie. So find out means to determine this thing. Right? Any questions, anyone in this exercise one? So Kashif, reactions after reactions, you have to read the whole sentence. They said, this way, the administrator of the test asks more relevant questions later on. So these are not the relevant questions. Did you write one? Did you write two? This is just to see how you're reacting. Then they ask more relevant questions. Then they say the subject's physiological reactions can be compared with the reactions to the control questions. So they were comparing physiological reactions to the reactions of the questions. So these are two different type of reactions that the question is. You should not be reading from reactions can be compared with the reactions. That's wrong. You have to say physiological reactions are to be compared with the reactions of questions. This is how it is. Right? Is it fine now? No other doubts, anyone? Okay, let's move ahead. So here is your question number 2 on the screen, and you will have 2.5 minutes for this. Wait, what is it, Mahir? Why A is not in 3? Has undergone will mean the test has been done on one person, one particular person. As I explained, the context is explaining how the test is done. It's not about when it was done on one person in the past, present, or future. They are not talking about, if we'll say has done, that will mean we are talking about it's completed. But we are explaining that when we do the test, we perform these questions and that question. So we are talking about facts, and facts are in present tense. Right? Like we'll say, when I go to uni, I catch a bus. You won't say when I have gone to uni, because you're talking about a fact that you do every day the same way. Okay. So here is your question number 2, and you have 2.5 minutes. All of you go ahead and post your answers. Okay, are we done? Why am I seeing you selecting referring to? Referring to is a common use. All of you use it when you give explanation to a definition, like this term refers to. So refers is used when you're giving explanation of one word or one phrase that this refers to this thing, explaining the meaning of something. That is the use of referring or refer to. But here they are not talking about the meaning of something. So as we always say that, try to figure out the use of that word in your general life, that where have you seen this written, how do you use this in a sentence, what type of sentences is it is used in. So you all must have heard the question in your schools, like define the term photosynthesis. The photosynthesis refers to the process of so and so. That is the use of referring to, right? So this says, in planning a dash of action. This was a collocation, a phrase which says course of action. Course of action means detailed step-by-step plan of how to proceed ahead. That is known as course of action, means what actions we are going to take one after the other. That is course of action, and all of you have done it well. One may consider various alternatives, working out each in detail. Although the word hypothesis is not typically used in this case, the procedure is virtually the same as that of an investigator of crime, considering various aspects. Different methods may be used for deciding what the various dash may be. So they were talking about that when you decide how to proceed ahead, there will be various alternatives. Alternatives means we have so much options, like we can complete the assignment this way, or we can complete the assignment that way. So these are the options, alternatives we have. And then the word hypothesis is not typically used in this case, but it is similar to that. This just referring to another example here. Different methods may be used for deciding what the various dash be. Now, various means it has to be plural. You can use different methods to decide what the various alternatives, options, choice, or possibilities. Choice is singular, that will be eliminated. Possibilities, we are not talking about possibilities that 50% possibility that we will be able to complete the task, or 20% possibility, not that. They were talking what the various options we have to complete the task. So options and alternatives, options is very common, alternatives is a better academic word. So we'll say you can use different methods to find out that what are all the options available to you. But what is fundamental is the consideration of a supposal as if it were true. So this, they are explaining what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is to assume that whatever you're going to investigate or find out, it is true, that dash actually accepting it as true. So hypothesis is without actually accepting something to be true. We just assume that, let's assume it is true. That doesn't mean that you accept that it is true. Hypothesis means we say that we assume it's true, and let's find out evidences to prove this assumption. That is the meaning of hypothesis. So they say we suppose that it is true without accepting that it is true. This would be like the explanation of what hypothesis is, or how hypothesis is works. One of the earliest uses of the word in this sense was in geometry. It is described by Plato in the Meno. The most important modern use of a hypothesis is dash scientific investigation. So here, the most important modern use of hypothesis is dealing with, they were actually saying that there are lots of uses of hypothesis, but one most important use of hypothesis is dealing with scientific investigation in relation to scientific investigation. Referring to, now this is what we discussed. Referring to is when we are giving explanation, like explaining a definition, explaining a concept, then it is referring. As regards doesn't fit, is as regards doesn't make sense. So it was in relation to. In relation to means in this particular field. When you're highlighting the sphere, the domain, like the most important use of a hypothesis is in the field of scientific investigation. So means in relation to, in this particular field. That is how it was. Then they say a scientist is not merely concerned to accumulate such facts as can be discovered by observation. And what is it? Linkages dash be discovered to connect those facts. So it's not merely that you have to collect facts. what you have to actually do is you have to link them together also. So linkages must be, because without that, they said it's not your task just to collect. You have to do the other thing, and have to means you must do this. Must was here again based on the formation of the sentence. Like if I say, you not only have to collect the data on the assignment, you have to prepare it as well. So have to means you must have to do that as well. So have to in a better way is must. So the formation of the sentence tells us that this is a requirement. This is something which is not optional. So that's how must comes here. Right, so these are the answers. Course of action is a phrase, a collocation. These three words go together. Various dash may be because it was in the whole of the context. It's not about how much possibilities that work will be done or not. They were just checking how many options do we have. And then they started talking about hypothesis, that in hypothesis we suppose something to be true without accepting that it is true. And fourth is, it is one of the most modern important use of hypothesis is in the field of scientific investigation. So we say in relation to this field, because the field is already mentioned. And the last is, they not only have to just collect, they have to connect also. So have to means they must connect. Right, any questions, anyone? Any doubts, any queries in exercise 2? Anybody? Could is so could is about possibility. Must is when you have to do something. Could is only possibility. Like you could have come, just a possibility. Okay. Fourth is in relation to. In relation to means when you want to highlight a particular field. Like I am getting confused in relation to geometry. So when you're highlighting a field, then you say in relation to this field, I'm not clear, or I am having confusion. So that is in relation to. Third one is the kind of explanation of what hypothesis is. So hypothesis means assuming something to be true without accepting it to be true. This is what is a definition, kind of a definition of hypothesis. Dealing with doesn't make sense. So you say most important use of a hypothesis is dealing with. That means use is dealing with. But we are saying one most important use is in respect to scientific investigation, in the field of scientific investigation, not dealing with, because here we are not dealing with scientific investigation. We are just highlighting that this field is where it is used. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, all good. Let's move ahead. And here comes question number 3. 2.5 minutes. Solve it and then post your answers in the chat box. Okay. Went disappeared. Asha? Went disappeared. Make sense? Second one is, okay, let me give you a hint for second one if you want to change. So they said the hint is North America getting separated from South America now? Are we now separating Eurasia from Africa, or it has been done? Done now? Then why are you writing relate to? Always and always look at the complete sentence, find out what tense, what time period, what situation is being explained, and then select your answer. So let's look at this discussion. This says fossil evidence suggests that megalodons went dash before about 2.6 million years ago during a period of cooling and drying in many parts of the world. They went vanish, disappeared, missing, or extinct. Whenever we talk about species, extinct is a very common word. It is the lexical resource that we use when you want to say that the species which are no more, whose we have lost them at all. Those species are known as extinct species, like dinosaurs. We don't say they disappear because disappear is like a magic thing, but we have better academic word which we use. So we'll rather go with extinct than saying that they just disappeared one day. So they became extinct before about 2.6 million years ago. These changes may dash to the closing of the seaways. So closing of the seaways which separated North from South America and Eurasia from Africa. This thing has been done already. So you will say, now you know that with may you cannot put ed. You know that with modals can, may, might, would, could, we use first form of verb. So related will be eliminated. Relate will be eliminated because it's present tense. We say these changes may relate to the closing. That means now it will relate to, but the closing and the separation is already done. So you'll say be relating. Be relating means still to happen in the future. So what are we left with? Have been related. Have been related means this thing has been already done. So that's how you should be selecting when you have the options based on tenses. Like just looking at the options, you should tell that, okay, I have to find which tense is the statement in. Because you have 4 different types of tenses. One is past, one is present, one is future, and one you have which conveys that the thing has been done. Right? So Kashif, as I said, extinct is a better word. You can say like the species disappear or the species went missing. How do we use the word missing? This boy is missing from last few weeks. That is the major use of the word missing. They are not lost, right? In the sense of missing. So you have to be careful about which context. As I said, when we talk about species, we say endangered species, extinct species, vulnerable species. You have to be careful about the lexical resources that you are using, right? So they say these changes have been related to, means we have already related these changes to these things which happened in the past. The emergence of the Isthmus of Panama likely split populations of predators and prey alike, and deflected ocean currents dashed their usual paths. With deflected, the preposition that is used always is deflected from. Deflected comes with from. Deflected ocean currents from their usual paths. The meaning of deflected is like something which is going towards its aim, you just change the angle and that is getting deflected, astray from the path that is deflected. The mix of environmental changes and rising walls of land almost certainly dash marine food chains, including those that supported baleen whales. So these two things, environmental changes and rising walls of land, they dash marine food chains. So obviously something negative, environmental changes have done something negative. So they have ceased. Ceased means stopped the food chain, unsettled the food chain, disrupted or separated. So separated means like two things were together and then we separated them. So we cannot say environmental changes separated the food chain. It will be disrupted. Disrupted means again being a barrier into something. The flow in which things were happening, now they are not happening in that way. That is disruption in any work, kind of disturbance. So they disrupted the marine food chains, including those that supported baleen whales, which scientists believe were the main prey of megalodons, with white sharks and early killer whales also evolving to become formidable competitors with megalodons by that time. Megalodons found fewer prey and their populations dash. Again, past tense, because they have been finished like 2.6 million years ago. So it's saying they found is past tense, fewer prey and their populations crashed, impacted, diminishes, expanded. Diminishes is present tense, will be eliminated on that basis. Expanded would be increased, but we know that they are extinct, so their population must be falling because of all the negative reasons. So we cannot say their populations expanded. Their populations impacted or their populations crashed. Obviously, crashed. Impact would just be that affected. Their population was affected in some way. And crashed is sharply fell down. So that is crashed, like sharply falling and then finishing at the end is crashing down. Just like you said, that the plane crash, so it comes toward downwards and then crashes at the end. In the same way, we use crash in this context, that it went down sharply and then completely finished after that. So that is the use of crash here. Right, so I'll go through it once again. When we are talking about species, always whenever you are solving a blank, you have to tell yourself that, okay, this is biology topic, so I have to think on the biology words. This is chemistry, this is physics, this is law, this is account. So the vocabulary comes with it. The words will be similar, but you have to find that, okay, in accounts, how do we say that thing? So when we talk about like evidence and fossil, and we're talking about a species, so we'll say extinct, they are endangered, they are on the verge of extinction. So these are the words that we use. So we'll say 2.6 million years ago, their populations went extinct, not missing or disappeared, because these words are used in several other ways. But extinct is a specific word to use for species only. Second one is these changes may dash to the. So you grammatically, it is right to say these changes may relate to the, but if you put relate, then it will become present tense, that now we can relate these changes to these two things, but those two things are of the past. That means these changes may have been reported to. That means these changes may have been because of those things, because the changes have already happened. The changes are not now. We are kind of like they were studying the fossils, and now they're saying that, okay, these changes happened and these changes may have happened because of these two events, right? So here relate to doesn't just mean like in relation to, it means like these changes may have been happened because of these two things. So here it is, these changes may have been related to. The related to means happened because of. Then they say the emergence of this deflected comes with from, that's a collocation. Next one was the mix of environmental changes, rising walls of the land, dash marine food chains. Disrupted means completely kind of destroyed. The way they were going, the food chain, it got imbalanced. So that will be disrupted. Whenever you are looking for blanks, you can always eliminate the adverbs to get your answer, because adverbs cannot impact or affect your answer. So almost or certainly, even if they are there or if they are not there, that cannot change your answer. Right. And the last one, so all these negative things, that they had nothing to eat, their prey, whatever they used to eat, that particular species went down. And when they had nothing to eat, so their own population crashed means fell sharply and then completely finished. Right. Now let me know if there are any doubts. I hope it's clear now. Impacted is clear. The second one is clear. In case Jashanpreet. So Rinkesh, here we cannot put related, because with may comes first form of verb. If it would have been may be related to, then it's fine to use that. Last one, we need past tense. We cannot just say that their populations, see, if you want to say impacted, you will have to say and their populations were impacted. You cannot just say their populations impacted. Okay, so and we don't really want to say just impact. This was a whole story that how did they come to an end. Impact is not coming to an end. Crashed means coming to an end. Got it now? Any other questions, anyone? Okay, all good. We are at number 4. And you have 2.5 minutes for this one. When you have movement, you don't use in that case. Like I said, there is a lot of pollution in the air because it is there, still there. It's not like moving from one, like higher to lower or lower to higher. That is not in. If there's movement, in won't come there. Okay, let's look at the answers. It is no surprise that an erupting volcano is one that dash be avoided at all costs. So that must be avoided. If it's active volcano, who will want to go there? So that must be avoided, but we don't have must. Might is like 50-50. So this is not a thing we'll say, okay, we might avoid it. It is something that we have to. Ought would have come, but we don't have to written. Ought to be avoided. Ought to be means must be. But we don't have to, so we cannot use ought. Will be avoided. It's not based on tense. It is a fact that, so what we are left with is should. But yes, in case we will have must or ought to, we'll go with that over should. So here they might be taking it as a suggestion based on what options are given. So they say it's no surprise that an erupting volcano is one that should be avoided at all times, all costs, given the extreme heat of the lava. The rocks pelting dash the air. The rocks are not pelting in the air. Let's take pelting as melting. So the rocks are melting in the air means at their places they are melting. No, they're melting through the air because there is movement. Along means like with the air. So the same way the air is going, the same way they are going, not like that. Through is like cutting through, like we say, diving through the water. So through means you pass through it. So that is pass through means through. So you start from one point and you go across, go through it, and you change your position. So that is through. The rocks pelting through the air and the suffocating ash. But what about volcanoes that aren't erupting? Can they also be dangerous? Volcanoes can be dangerous even when they are not erupting. But there are different levels of risk dash on the state of the volcano. So something that goes with on. There are different levels of risk depending on conditional subjected provided, rather say depending on, it's a common collocation we use when we give basis depending upon these bases. So they'll say one is active volcano, one is erupting, one is extinct volcano, and they have explained their types. Dash extinct volcanoes pose virtually no threat. The others might not be so safe. So we have two parts with a comma, separating the two parts with a comma. One part and the other part are contrasting to each other. So first one says if there is no threat, the second one says it is not safe. So you're having a contrast. Whenever you have contrast, you go with although, despite, though, these kind of words. Despite, the difference between despite and although is despite comes when you have noun, although comes when you have subject plus verb. So here after the blank, you have the subject, extinct volcanoes is the subject and pose is the verb. So despite cannot come here. Despite would have come if the sentence changes to despite the risk or despite no threat. So who is having the threat or who is posing the threat is not given, then despite comes. So here despite cannot come, whereas does not come in contrast. Since cannot come with contrast, there are two uses of while. One use of while is when you're making a comparison, like comparison, no. One use of while is when you want to say at the same time, and the other use of while is making a comparison, a contrast. So here it will be while one of them is safe, the other one is not safe. If you would be having although and while, you will prefer although over while in this case. Okay, so you say while these ones are safe, the other ones are not safe. Especially if a volcano is active, there are certain dash that must be taken when visiting it. So it is risky. So what do we take in risk is we take precautions when we go to a risky area or a risky place. So there are certain precautions that we have to take if we are visiting an active volcano. Okay. What is pelting? Even I thought that it should be like melting. Let's check if there is one word like pelting. Yeah, pelting down is a word. No, wait. So pelting is like bombarded. So when you have a repetitive attack from something, that is called pelting. So here they might be taking the, where was it, rocks. That means rocks are falling one after the other. So in that sense, they are taking like the attack of the rocks through the air. So they are from the top, they are falling on the earth, on the ground, right? Yeah. So listen to despite thing again. Despite comes when there is a noun only written after. Despite cannot come when you have noun plus verb, both the things written after. You should have been gone through the grammar videos by now, Mahir. You have been attending classes from a long time. I expect you to complete the grammar videos before coming to the classes. So difference between although and despite. Although comes when you have noun plus verb. Despite comes when you have only noun, no verb before the comma, till the comma comes. So that is the difference. Like I said, if their sentence would have been despite no threat, then you can put despite, there's no problem. But you have subject, extinct volcanoes pose threat. Despite is not used in that case. Okay. Whereas is when you are making a comparison, not a contrast. For example, boys went for river rafting, whereas girls went for scuba diving. So there's no contrast. It's not necessarily to be opposite. It's just comparison, that this was the one case, this was the other case. That does not need to be opposite. But for what is it? Although it's generally opposite. For despite, it's opposite. However, it's opposite. So one safe, one not safe in that sense. Right? Any other question, anyone? While is used in two sense. One while means at the same time. The other while means when you're making a comparison. While this is safe, the other one is not safe. While is used in that sense also. And the other is I bought this dress while I went for party. So while means at the same time. The sentence is not right though. So I did my homework while watching television. So at the same time. That is one use of while. This is the other use of while. While has two uses. Okay. Anything else, anyone? Okay, all good. And let's move ahead to the next question in this case. Sorry, the last question for reading writing blanks. And you have 2.5 minutes for this. Post your answers in the chat box and then we'll have a discussion. Done. Defined by slow, beautiful change of green foliage to vibrant reds, orange, yellows. This is the definition of autumn. Or the way it is said that in many places around the world, autumn is defined by these things. Again, the same mistake you should be using, that how do you use the word defined by? Yeah, using definitions, then you use that. Not when you are giving the scenario, that's not defining. And this is when you, let's say you use this, that the days are becoming shorter. This marks the beginning of winter. This is how the word marks is used with seasons. If you see small buds coming out of plants, so you say all these, and there is like breezing, and you have new petals and new leaves coming out of plants, you say this marks the beginning of spring. So marks is used with seasons in this way. That's a common use. So this was also the same way in many places around the world. Autumn is marked by the slow, beautiful change. So marked in way means like, it's not like definition, it's not like shown, it's just like these things indicate. So that indicate is the right word. Is it marks the coming of the season, or the wrapping off of one season? So the differences in our surroundings, they mark, they show us that this is happening, but we cannot say show for sure. So we can say this marks, this indicates. Green leaves appear green because of the presence of the pigment chlorophyll, which is key to photosynthesis in temperate regions. Cold winters dash a risk to the leaves of broadleaf trees and other perennials. So cold winters dash a risk. We need a verb. Again, a fact. This is not based on tense. Winters can face a risk to the leaves, but then when we say face a risk, it's not to somebody. It's like winters will face a risk in that case, but they say to leaves. So winters make a risk to leaves. Winters pose or winters create. Now winters cannot create or make anything. We'll say winters pose. Pose means present a risk to somebody else. It's also used in a way when you say that you can pose your question, present your question. So in that way, we use the word pose. But it's more used with risk. It's very common to be used with risk. So you can note it down if you want. Cold winters pose a risk means this winters present a risk to the leaves of broadleaf trees and other perennials. And so these plants drop their leaves in a dash fashion. So if you read the sentence, it's complete even without the blank. Plants drop their leaves in a fashion to reduce injuries and conserve energy. So we need an adjective. What kind of fashion they reduce their leaves? Restricting fashion, controlled fashion, desirable, and minimize. In a minimized fashion, in a desirable. So some of you have selected desirable. What is desirable fashion for trees? They want to like reduce two leaves. Today I want to reduce two leaves, a tree can say, and the other day I desire is like your aim, that is your desire, or your wishes, that is your desire. This is something that they have to do. This is not their wish, that they desire to, that their leaves fell. This is not their wish. So desirable is not the right word. It is in a controlled manner. Controlled means it's well defined. It's not like any day, like all the leaves will fall in one day or all the leaves will fall in 2 days. It's a process. Controlled means it's a well defined process how they do this to reduce injuries and conserve energy. So they keep in mind these two things. Keep in mind means it's a process, obviously defined process. This event is usually triggered by the declining day length and falling temperatures of autumn. So all these things are taken care of in the way that they shed their leaves. Leaf abscission, which is a technical term for dropping of leaves, this begins with the dash of chlorophyll. So with the, we need a noun. With the wearing of, the meaning of, degradation of, or decline. Decline means decrease. Demeaning cannot be used in this sense. Demeaning is like insulting. Wearing again cannot be used. Wearing of chlorophyll, it will be degradation. Degradation means falling in quality. So we all know that the healthy leaves are green leaves. If the leaves have turned yellow or orange, we say they are not healthy leaves. So when the chlorophyll degrades means the quality or when the quality of the leaf declines, it's because of chlorophyll is less. As the green fades, yellow and orange pigments known as carotenoids are revealed in the leaves of many species. In other plants, pigments called anthocyanins accumulate in the leaves at this time, giving them shades of red and purple. Some of the most beautiful fall foliage features both types of pigments, often with one color giving way to the next as the season progresses. Dash, all the leaves are dropped and the plant goes dormant for the long winter months. So this is not two parts like despite and all the ones, because they have and. So they have the conjunction. So we say finally, eventually, lastly, or thus. So they have explained the process. Finally will more come when you're talking in a stage by stage or step by step manner, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or first, second, third, fourth. Then we use finally and lastly. But we were not like 1, 2, 3, 4. We are explaining the process in detail. So we'll say eventually. Eventually also means the same, like at the end. But lastly and finally are more used with chronological things when you're actually highlighting 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you can say finally and lastly. So it will be eventually means at the end, all the leaves are dropped and the plant goes dormant for the long winter months. Right? Anybody? Okay, are you having any doubt with thus? Thus is like when this sentence is connected with the previous one and it means like in this way. Or like, yeah. Okay, let's go through it again. So first one, I hope it's clear. As I gave you the examples, this is how we talk about seasons. And then post threat means present a threat. It cannot be make, create, or face. Then controlled manner is like well-defined manner, like step-by-step manner is known as controlled. The opposite of control would be reckless, like any amount of leaves any day, that would be reckless. Restricting manner is not the way. Restricting is used. It should be restricted manner, first of all, not restricting manner. That's one thing. Restricted is used in a negative way. When you want to say that you're not free to do something, then you use the word restricted. And here, nobody is actually, putting rules on trees. It's how the process goes on. So it's not restricted, it's not free. It is like this, it is. So restricted is bit of like negative word. And then fourth one, in the fourth question, we know that with after the we need noun. Yes. And we know the word ending with ion is usually. So do we still need to apply elimination rather than just simply choose the word with ion if there is only one word out of? Yes, you can go with that, obviously. So that always eliminates your options. So the lesser the options you have for us, it's always better. It will save your time. So I sometimes, try to go to all four. But it's good, like, that with the it comes it comes a noun. So you should straight away look, wearing is not noun, demeaning can be noun, but okay, we should not go with that. Degradation, everything that ends with tion is a noun. Decline is used both as a noun and as a verb, but that's okay. tion is noun, better one. So the fifth one, most of you are saying that why are we not concluding? No, this is not a conclusion. This is the end of the process. Conclusion is when you summarize everything that you explained. That is conclusion. When you come to the last step, that finally this happens, that's not conclusion. That's your final stage. In the in second, we should use second form. No, why will we use second form? As I said, cold winters dash a risk. If we'll say posed a risk, that means they don't do it now. Posed means they used to do it. But this is a process. This is a fact. It happens every year. So we cannot make it a tense-based answer. In the third one, controlled is not used as a verb. It's used as an adjective. Like which kind of fashion, which type of fashion. So that won't be verb. In a controlled fashion, in a restricted fashion, they are adjectives that uses in the form of adjectives, and that will be with ed only. You won't say in a controlled manner, you'll say in a controlled manner. Okay. Anybody else? Any question? Is it all good? Okay, let's move ahead. Who was telling me to undo? New computer. I'm very bad at technology. They take time to get used to it. Sorry. It will come with time. Okay, first question for reorders, and you have only 2 minutes for this. Normally you do the question based on ears, and I keep on saying, no, you have to read the context also. And today when it was based on ears, then you don't want to do it. No, 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 no good attempt. Okay, let's look at the hints and clearly look at the hints. In 1933, so we have and year mentioned. The US Army transferred control of the prison to the Civilian Department of Justice, and from 34 to 63, Alcatraz with capital A must be name of something served as a federal prison. So federal prison means it's the name of a place. Alcatraz served as a prison, jail. It's a place for some of the most dangerous convicts. Convicts would be criminals. It was the jail for the most dangerous criminals in the American penitentiary system. Okay. These included 19 Hopi Indians. So we are talking about human beings here. From this territory who passively resisted government attempts to assimilate them, and American soldiers fighting in the Philippine-American War who had joined the Filipino cause in 1900. So some included in what should be your question. Alcatraz, originally envisioned as a naval defense fortification, was designated a residence for military offenders in 1861, and it housed a diverse collection of prisoners. Diverse means different types of prisoners were there in its early years. Among its famous denizens were this Robert Stroud, the birdman of Alcatraz. So these are the names of some human beings. George would be name of human being known as Machine Gun. Kelly and Robert Stroud, the birdman of Alcatraz. These were the people. Denizens is used for people. In 1907, the island was designated the Pacific branch of the US military prison, and the modern prison building was completed 4 years later. So in this, it was based on the years. First, they gave the definition. What is Alcatraz? It is a fortification. It was designed for this and this, and it had diverse collection of prisoners. So that diverse means people from different areas. Some from Hopi Indians, and then American soldiers who were from the Philippine-American War. So diversity, different backgrounds is diversity. And then it was from 1900, it came to what happened in 1907. In 1907, the island was designated this name. It was made the prison, and the modern prison building, it was completed 4 years later. After 1907, you have 1933, where you say that it was a prison for most dangerous convicts. And then you name among its famous denizens, means the famous prisoners were 1, 2, 3 and something and something. Poor performance. This was now based on years. Every time you ask me, ma'am, it's not based on years, and I say, yes, it is, but with exceptions. And today it was, and you use the exceptions. Okay, any questions, anyone? No, it was not confusing. This was easy, okay? This included, and this diverse word was easy. Why not D after B? So you already said these included this. How will you say among its famous denizens? So you should be talking about people before this particular sentence. Very good, Preetham. Nice. So it will be among its famous. So first you'll say most dangerous convicts, and then you will name them. Again, the same, broader and then narrower. Okay. No, not like this is famous among the. This was out of the most dangerous. The famous ones were these. Why not AB? Dhruv. 1900 will come first, Dhruv, and then 1933 will come. I am confused on B, so put on last. No, B had clear hint, these included, and it had to be linked with diverse. Convicts and 19. See, this sentence, if they would be only talking about convicts, then they would not try to, talk about different backgrounds of the convicts. They'll just say, okay, these were the convicts. And when it's okay, that it's right that you can get confused, but the thing is, if you have a sentence which particularly talks about diversity, then you have to link that sentence with it. Number 2, and you have 2 minutes for this as well. And the question's difficult today, or all of you have had a good weekend? Lazy Monday is the reason. Okay, let's look at the answers. This is, for example, so very clear hint, this will be an example to something. Total and annular eclipses occur every 5 or 6 months. So the example is about the frequency of something, about total and annular eclipses. Then they say total solar eclipses take place somewhere on the planet about every 18 months or so, but the average frequency of the event for any random point on the planet is roughly once in almost 400 years. So the context was about solar eclipses. They say they happen every 18 months or so, somewhere on the planet, 18 months. But the average frequency for any random point will be 400 years. They talked about frequency of solar eclipses. Nevertheless should be read as anyways, since solar eclipses can be seen from only a very limited region of Earth at a time, and lunar eclipses can be seen by an entire hemisphere, solar eclipses may seem less frequent. So they talked about both solar and lunar eclipses, and they said that the whole hemisphere can see it, and for solar ones only limited region of the Earth can see it. So that maybe that's why they seem less frequent. Lunar eclipses, by contrast is very important, means you have said the opposite of this first, happen about once per year at any given location on the planet. So for one location, they have once a year, and we are talking about lunar eclipses. Across the planet, however, solar eclipses are actually more frequent than lunar ones. This was a bit confusing here. So this was across the planet, however, lunar eclipses are actually more frequent. So this, however, was comparison of solar eclipses with solar eclipses. Just comparison was with the place. So the order goes like B was first, that total solar eclipses take place somewhere on the planet about every 18 months, and the average frequency for any random point on the planet is 400 years, means 1 point. And then they said across the planet, however, but when we overall talk about the whole planet, solar eclipses are actually more frequent than lunar ones. So this was, however, was a comparison of solar with solar, just in regard to overall and at 1 point. So that was a use of however here, but this was confusing. And then they gave the example of this. The example was, for example, total and annular eclipses occur every 5 or 6 months. They were talking about solar only. That overall, annular means when they talk about the whole of the Earth. And then when they talk about 5 or 6 months for solar, then they compared it with lunar. That this is 5 or 6 months. However, by contrast, lunar eclipses, they happen once per year at any given location on the planet. And then in the end, they talked about both of them together. That, okay, anyhow, they are just lesser, or they seem lesser because of so and so reason. Okay, so this was, yes, this thing was confusing. So this across, normally we think like however would be when they are comparing solar with lunar, right? But this was a different case. They were talking about from one region. First they talked about one region, and then they talked about, okay, however, across the planet means overall they happen more than lunar ones. Yes, but we do not have any introduction to lunar ones that we should wait for. That we'll first explain the lunar ones and then we can talk about them. Even both the sentences which have lunar, they're giving information. So we have to match the other one with by contrast because it's only talking about lunar, but we still have two sentences which are talking about solar. So that's why we should first finish that and then move ahead. So basically it was like in one region, it happens after 18 months. But however, across the planet, they happen more than lunar ones, right? And then they say, for example, they gave the example of that they happen 5 or 6 months in a difference of. However, the opposite lunar ones, they happen once in 1 year. So that was a comparison of 5 to 6 months. By contrast, 1 year. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you will generally say that by contrast, or however, we'll be comparing two things, but they played here. They compared solar with solar, and they took place as the basis of comparison rather than the subject as the basis of comparison. Yeah, BD looks like a pair doesn't mean that it will be a pair. Yes, this is okay. This one was difficult. I accept. Fine. Okay. Third one is easy. Do this one, and you have 2 minutes. Who is this? Sahan. Very good. Archel. Well done. Let's look at the answer for this one. These technologies, so we have to find out this reference. These technologies use optical pulsed sources to transfer, retrieve, or compute information. The device output, so the device, which device are they talking about, can autonomously adjust to a user-defined target waveform with strikingly low technical and computational requirements. So this is just one device's explanation, how the device works. PhD student Bennett Fisher and postdoctoral researcher, this person in the team of this person at this institute. So they or he developed a smart pulse shaper integrated on a chip. So this is important. One person has developed this smart pulse shaper. Gaining control over optical pulse shapes thus paves the way for further advancements. So this is a general statement. If we gain control over optical pulse, this can lead to further development. From the internet to fiber or satellite communications and medical diagnostics, our everyday life depends upon optical technology. So this was the starting. You start with E, where you have your main topic, which is optical technologies. Then you refer saying these technologies use optical pulse, because this is explanation. Why are they called optical technologies? Because they use optical pulse resources to transfer, retrieve, and compute information. Now, third is where most of you have done wrong. These two sentences are together. That makes sense. Third was general. Third is more broader, that when you gain control over optical pulse, this will lead to further advancements. And then one example of advancement was given, that this one person, he developed a smart pulse shaper integrated. One shaper, one person developed something. And here they say further advancements, means this technology can further be advanced in lot of ways. And then they said this person has developed this whatever instrument or device it is, and then they explained the device. So two of your pairs are correct, but you have messed up this. Why? Did they mention anything about that person here, or did they mention anything about that one device here? No, this is broader, that there can be further advancements. There can be lot of advancements. And then you talk about, okay, one student has developed this and this is it. Okay. D has thus means no, that thus was just it shapes, thus paves the way. For only shapes, thus means because it shapes, it paves the way for further advancements. That thus was not concluding your whole this one particular device. No, this was general, saying that optical, if you gain control over optical pulse, this will shape and hence paves the way for further advances. Like one example is one person made this device, because advancements is more general than talking about one device that has been developed. Bit wrong understanding, Gopal. See, if they would have been if they would have used the connector in the beginning, then still it makes sense, like hence or thus in the beginning, then still we can say that it is a conclusion of that thing. But this does not mean, this does not have commas here, that we can do it in the first. If the connector, it has commas on both sides before and after, then we can put it in the beginning, but not this one. This is for does shapes, does paves. Because it shapes, it paves the way. Okay. All good with this one? Anyone else who has a question? The device developed is not the gaining control. In the first one, when they said gaining control, that was the fact that if we gain control, then we can lead to further advancements, right? And then the one advancement which that person has made, that smart pulse shaper, that is just one advancement. So advancements will come first, and then it will be one advancement that's mentioned. Okay. And we have the last question. Big one, but should be easy. 2 minutes, and we'll wind up after this. Okay, I'll say two sentences. Let's see who gets the hint. I don't know the reason why this machine stopped working. One. Second, this machine has stopped working. Which will come first? First, you'll say, "Na, this machine has stopped working, and I don't know why it has stopped working." Then why are you putting CA instead of AC? C is explaining that we don't know, it's impossible to find out the cause for such a global power to dissolve. Dissolve means finish. First, you'll say that it has finished, only then you will say that we cannot find a reason that why it finished, like dissolve the organization. You will not listen to me. I tell you hundreds of times, please create a sentence in your mind to understand what kind of story is going on. Within a year, the Soviet Union had ceased to exist. So we are referring to a time period, maybe, and then we are saying it had ceased to exist, means its existence finished. Its population numbered more than 290 million and 100 distinct nationalities lived within its borders. So who is it here? And we are talking about what was the population. While it is for all practical purposes, so let's not read comma to comma, simplify the things for you. While it is impossible to pinpoint one single cause for an event as complex and far reaching as the dissolution of a global superpower, a number of internal and external factors were certainly at play in the collapse of the USSR. USSR is Soviet Union only. They said that the Soviet Union ceased to exist, and we cannot really find one reason. It's really, but yes, a number of internal and external factors played a part in that. On January 1st, the Soviet Union was the largest country in the world, covering these many square miles, nearly 1/6 of Earth's land surface. This was your first sentence. It also boasted an arsenal of tens of thousands of nuclear weapons, and its sphere of influence exerted through such mechanisms and this and that. So it's past tense, and also is very important here. So we first say that we are talking about Soviet Union, which was the largest country. It had this much area. Then we'll say its population, just telling the characteristics. Its population was this much, the past things, obviously. It also had this thing, because again it is past tense. So D, B, and E, they were just giving characteristics. This is the place, its population was this, it also had this. No story going on, just features based on one by one thing. And then they'll say within a year, the Soviet Union had ceased to exist. And then, while it is impossible to pinpoint one single cause for an event as complex and far-reaching as the dissolution of a global superpower. So global superpower had been a reference, right? But a number of factors were responsible for that. Just want to let you know, finally blessed in last one. So it's just like how you read the sentences. So when you read properly, you understand properly. Such mechanisms are the examples that they have given after through. So they say through such mechanisms as this and this. So these such mechanisms means the ones written after that, not referring to any other sentence anyhow. So it was just like within a year, like everything that led to its collapse, it happens in 1 year. Within means in just 1 year, everything finished. And we are unable to find one reason, but there were several factors responsible for that. Okay. Any questions, anyone? All good? So what we are left with, do we have reading questions? Just two of them today. Okay, do the first one. You have 2 minutes. And we will have a discussion. All right, should be done. Post your answers. One river valley cannot match the whole of the coastline. It can match the coast at some point, though that is also not correct word, coast, match, but it cannot say that river valley matching the coastline. So it was rather paralleling. Yes, some of you have done it well. San Francisco Bay, large, nearly landlocked bay indenting Western California, US. It is a drowned river valley. Paralleling means parallel to, but we don't have to. They have given it in a way paralleling the coastline. Means it runs parallel to the coastline and is connected with the Pacific Ocean by a strait called the Golden Gate. Dash is spanned by the Golden Gate Bridge. So this all of you have done well, which is spanned by the Golden Gate Bridge. San Francisco Bay is 60 miles long and 3 to 12 miles wide and is one of the world's finest natural harbors. Treasure Angel Islands lie in it, and dash bridges connect its eastern and western shores. So bridges plural, so we can say several bridges connect its eastern and western shores. Dash the bay are San Francisco, Oakland, and a band of contiguous metropolitan subcenters. Between the bay or around, only two capital letters. Between cannot be one thing. Between the bays, plural it should be, then we can have between. So we'll say around. Around can be like different places on the bay. In the bay, sorry. So it will be around the bay. We have all these subcenters dash by the Bay Area Rapid Transit, which is called BART. So all these subcenters dash by the Bay Areas. We can say linked by, means they are linked together by this particular route, because transit would be kind of a route. So they are linked together, linked by this route. Good, many of you have done it well. Good attempt, Sahil. Very good attempt. Just the first one, matching won't be right. Good, Jagmeet, good attempt. Because matching would be like, can be like the river meets the coastline at one point, but it cannot be the coastline as whole. Right? Any questions, anyone? Okay, so here, landlocked is given, so thought, no, landlocked won't be in that context. So landlocked would be like you having land at all sides. That can be landlocked, maybe. Okay, so you have question number 2. 2 minutes for this. within 20-minute stage or during that 20-minute stage? Within is used when type of a constraint, like I'll say, do your work within 20 minutes. Limitation. That is the use of within. That is the perspective behind using within. So yes, you can say within 20 minutes. That's no harm in grammatically writing within that 20 minutes. But when do we use within is when you want to put a limitation, a restriction that not more than that. That is limitation. That's within. This was not about any limitation. They were just explaining that how long every stage lasts. The process of sleep occurs in 5 distinct stages that repeat about every 90 minutes. When you first lay down to rest, your breathing rate slows as you dash from consciousness to a light sleep. So as you transition is like changing from one pattern to another. After 2 minutes or so, you relax further, entering into stage 2 sleep. Your body temperature drops and breathing becomes regular during that 20-minute period. Stage 3 and 4, where sleepwalking and talking can occur, are this and this. Together, they last approximately 30 minutes. Before entering stage 5 and dash stage, we had only one option actually, an intriguing stage with a vowel. So an intriguing stage known as REM, rapid eye movement sleep. So within is grammatically right, but contextually wrong, because when we use within, we want to put a limitation, a restriction, then we use that. Okay. Any doubts, anyone in this question? How can we use U transition? That's fine, Chandni. It is a bit weird to like if we just read the two words U transition, but when you read it together in the sentence, you transition from this pattern to the other pattern. That's fine. Normally we don't have nouns like this, but it's possible. Which sentence, Preetham? Sorry, I didn't get it. Ma'am, between can be used if there are two things, but in this case there are commas, so confusing like this and this. Is it for blank number 2 that you are talking about? So when you first lay down to rest, your breathing rate slows as you dash. No, because that comma was for a condition. The first part was a condition. So it was not like options. It was a condition and the result, that what happens after that. Maybe this makes sense. Anybody else, any question? So these are all the tasks that we have to do today, and a bit lesser questions in reading. Will be more tomorrow. And tomorrow also we have the class online from 6:30 to 8:30 like always, but we go until 9. It used to be 9, we used to go till 9:30. So it will be from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And please join on time. There's no class on Wednesday. We have updated it on the portal, but just if by any chance you have missed that part, there's no class on Friday. It will be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday online for this week. Not from 7 to 9, it will be 6:30 to 8:30, like 8:30, 8:45 something, but from 6:30 onwards. Right, any other questions, anyone? Anything you want to talk about or ask about? Jashanpreet, we'll update you as soon as we are available for face-to-face class. It's just that the things are getting set up. So it's taking a bit of time, but we will update you as and when it will be. Fatima, we are yet to decide on next week's timetable. As I said, it's because of the setting still being done. You might all know that this Parameter Institute has shifted. We are at a new location. So it's just because of that because of lockdown, so we weren't allowed to, come and set the things up. So just it's in Parameter only, just the where it was earlier, 2-3 minutes, like 5 minutes walking distance from there, not exactly five even. So, but yes, the campus is new, so setting up is taking time, but we don't want you to compromise anywhere. So that's why we are continuing with online things so that your practice is not disrupted. Anything else, anyone? And yes, I'm really very sorry. The link was posted 10 minutes late today. Apologies. Tomorrow it will be 6:30 sharp. Yes, Milan. No, Jashanpreet, the center is open. You can come for visit. You can come for lab sessions as well. Only this particular class is running online. No worries, no worries. Yes, Alanda, there will be more tomorrow just to balance the time somehow. So we did more on reorders today. Bye. See you. See you tomorrow.